I'm at a palace in Austria right now, and I just started thinking really when I felt the sun on my skin, and combined with the video I made yesterday talking about that meme of smelling the flowers, and you have this guy. I'll see if I can put the meme up on screen, but I'm not really editing these videos, I'm shooting them on my phone. So this guy, he was just smelling flowers, and he tells his friend, hey, you should smell these, like stop and smell the flowers. And then his friend goes like, and he huffs them all in, and the next scene is the guy kind of like curled up in a ball, rocking back and forth, and his friend is holding a trophy saying like world's best flower smeller. And my friend sent me this, actually my brother sent me this years ago to describe my type A personality, and I thought it was such a funny and accurate way of putting it that I actually printed it out and put it up on my bulletin board. And I was like, oh yeah, this describes me really well, like all this positive stuff. And then yesterday, reflecting on that and what it means to be alive, because for the past couple weeks and months during my mindfulness practice and my ice baths, I've been trying to enjoy being more mindful, being more conscious, feeling the sun on my skin, noticing the smells in the air, the birds chirping, and just really appreciating having a body and being alive, noticing the taste of food and trying to like suck every ounce of joy that I can get out of it. And I've just been enjoying it and so much happier, because beforehand I was that person constantly competing. And I wrote a paper in 9th grade, I can't find it, it's lost somewhere to the digital archives, but it's called Life's a Competition. And basically in the paper I say everyone's competing, and like sports is a competition, school is a competition, all of this is competition, life's a competition, and I'm gonna win it. And that was my whole paper. And at the time I thought it was like really well done, but now looking back on it, I wish my teacher like said something to me, like took me aside and said like, hey Jason, life's not a competition. Like if you live life like a competition, then you just wind up with a bunch of deadlines define your life. It's kind of like when I was addicted to nicotine, I was smoking, life in my day just became a set series of, I would allow myself to hit the vape every 2 hours. So I kind of just counted through the day in 2-hour chunks, anticipating the next one and trying to get there as fast as I could, whether it be distracting myself or just mindfully going throughout the day. And then I realized how bad that was, but I thought I stopped doing it, but I didn't realize that when you live your life for work and for all these other things, like I was doing it on a much deeper level than I ever actually initially thought. So now I try to make sure I'm not living my life to deadlines, to like, how productive can I be? Like this is due at this date, so I'm just gonna work until this deadline, and then I'm gonna look out into the future for a new deadline, and then I'm gonna work until that deadline. And the whole time you're kind of, I don't know, if you're chasing the feeling of eventually I'll be happy with the amount of work I produce or something, there must be something to it, because I would look for work not necessarily because I needed to get anything done, but because I felt like I should be doing stuff. Like I felt that going for a walk or taking an ice bath or doing all these other things that I would have considered a luxury was unneeded and just a waste of time, because I could be working, I could have been studying for school, I could be studying for my next exam. And it wasn't until I started prioritizing my ice baths, prioritizing my sleep and my health and my wrestling, and then I worked in between those activities that I really started to enjoy them more. And not only that, but I became more productive. And there's this wonderful book I read called How to Control Your Mind. I'll link it down below, but it talks about meditating for productivity and how it helps you to stabilize the mind, stay on topic more, think more deeply, and pick the most important thing that you can be working on. Because for a lot of stuff, there's this idea of not necessarily prioritization in the work we do, and we try to just keep doing work, but for a lot of things, there's like one or two important things that you need to get done, and once you get those things done, everything else will kind of fall into place. But you need to have the detachment from what you're doing to be able to see what those key items are. There were many times in in college, when I'm working on these long engineering problems that can sometimes take up to 20 pages of paper, fully written through, just long kinematic equations of motion and relationships between them and ways to solve problems. But the whole point of it is to say, I would sometimes get so caught up in rushing to get the problem done that I would ignore a clever trick to get it done. I would ignore some other way to get it done, and I would only think about the first way that popped into my mind, and then I would just tunnel through that. And there were a lot of times where I stepped away from my work and I looked at it and I was like, why am I even doing this? And I traced the chain of thought, and somewhere along the connection of this will lead to this, to this, to this, to this, I made an incorrect one. So me solving the problem I was currently working on wouldn't even help me with the problem, the overarching solution and the goal I was going towards. It was just a side path I got distracted down. And I find myself now in business, like, there's so many of these side paths when you don't have someone necessarily telling you what to do, when things need to get done. It's so easy to get caught up in these chores and the minutia of day-to-day activities that you never actually make time for the work itself. And you keep on trying to douse these lesser issues, versus if you just grew the business large enough, you wouldn't even have to consider them. And right now I'm drawing a blank for any great examples, but one of them would just be organization of folders. I mean, you can search for most stuff on the computer, yet I still feel the compulsory need a lot of the time to organize and spend vast amounts of time doing that, or corrugating knowledge. And when you look at it, you take a step back and you look at the work, you're like, is this revenue generating? Is this gonna help me build the company, or is this just something that's distracting me and I could pay a virtual assistant to do a little while down the road? It's just a lot of thoughts, and when I was in the do state, I lost perspective on it. And it feels like being woken up to the pleasures of life when you slow down. I walk most places now that I'm in Europe on vacation, versus taking the electric scooters. You kind of try to turn the journey into part of the destination, like walking through a nice neighborhood, even though it takes you a little bit longer, so you can see the houses, or going through the park, even if it's a little out of the way, because it makes the walk a little bit nicer. Enjoying the sun and just trying to fully immerse yourself and be present in the moment. And the more I practice this, the more I realize how little I used to do it. Which is why I made that video yesterday talking about the matrix and like the blue pill and the red pill, and how it kind of, like, I was just thinking about the connection of it. I'm like, it's so much like that. Like, I think that's why they had to toss in all the science fiction into the movie, because it would scare people too much to realize how unconscious their lives were. And then I think back to like the 1600s and stuff, and I wonder if people were as mindful back then, or if they were also distracted by just being in their head for the whole day. I wonder how much of how big of an impact does technology have on our current mental state. And because it seems like that's the big thing right now, at least to me. It seems like because we have technology, because we have social media, because we have easy access to distraction whenever we want, that people lack mindfulness. And I know I sure did, but I wonder if I would have still lacked it to the same degree and just found other things to occupy my time if there was less technology. I'm not 100% sure if I'll ever get an answer to it, but yeah, I guess I could go to more rural civilizations, more mountainous towns that just lack a good internet connection, and talk to people there and see how mindful they are, because I'm well aware of how addicted and caught up in the hustle and bustle of life a lot of people are in the city, and very few people take the time to sit down and relax, enjoy the moment. And even I fall victim to this sometimes, where I feel the need to like take a picture of something and then post it. Well, I don't actually have social media to post it, but I just take a picture of it and I'm like, oh, I was there. And I think that's such a weird thing that we do nowadays, is we take a picture of something and we're like we'll stand in line for hours at some tourist attraction just to take a picture showing that we were in fact there ourselves, and then we just walk away. Like, we don't actually look at really what's in the background and appreciate it and think about what went into manufacturing, what went into the building of it, like all the history that this thing's seen. No, we stand in line on our phone, and then when it comes our turn, we go up, we take our picture, we post it on social media, and then we just walk away. And I think it's one of the weirdest things, just watching this play out for so many people, or noticing, like last night at the hostel, I was talking to this group of people, and I noticed this one girl was getting kind of bored with the conversation because we weren't engaging her that much. And I saw her kind of like looking off, and then she whipped out her phone and she started going on it and scrolling. And it was the weirdest thing. It was like I was able to understand exactly the thoughts that was going through her head, because they were the same ones that have gone through mine on similar occasions when I've done that. Just like, you feel a little awkward, you don't really know what you're doing, you aren't really being engaged, so you don't want to look weird just sitting there, so you whip out your phone as like a distraction from the present. But it was such a weird experience, because it was like I was in her head and I understood all the thoughts going through it. And this is something that you'll notice as you become more mindful, that you can easily start putting yourself into the place of others. And Robert Greene talks about this in Mastery with mirror neurons, and the human ability to copy the thought processes and the patterns that we see other people do, because we have these neurons in our body. So we can watch someone eat a food, and it's like we kind of experiencing it ourselves. And I don't know, I'm just here on this journey, becoming more mindful, trying to being more aware of my thoughts, and trying to be more present and enjoy being alive. Because no matter what religion you believe in, no matter what you think about life after death, you're only going to be alive for a short period of time. You only most likely have, if you're watching this video right now, you only have 100 years of living at most. Like in your body, what do you want to do? And then to think on top of that, like, depending on how old you are, if you don't take care of your body, once you hit 60 years old, you're highly limited in the range of activities. Like cliff jumping, no. Bungee jumping, most likely not. Long distance running, nope. Hiking, I mean, this moment is never going to exist again, and I'll never be in this same body again, considering how your body gets replenished and all the cells, I think it's once every 3 years, all the cells in your body get completely replaced, and all the atoms that make you up from the food you take in and the air you breathe. And just thinking about how the person you are now contains none of the same atoms and material that you contained 3 years ago. You are a completely different person, yet you somehow manage to have similar thoughts and similar processes, but those thoughts have changed. So if you really think about it, you're dying in the physical sense, or being replaced in the physical sense all the time. And it just doesn't feel like it, because we'll wake up in the morning and we'll still have the memories of it, even if we're not the same person. Like, you're never going to be the same person again. And it's just, a lot of thoughts going through my head. But enjoy where you're at. Get outside. Enjoy the smell. If you're at work, enjoy the smell of freshly printed paper. Enjoy the sunlight as it comes in the window, even if it does put glare on your computer. Just look for things to enjoy, and you'll just see more of them. Ever since I started making YouTube videos, I started thinking about topics to make videos about, and now I have a vast list, and I just have thoughts that pop into my head, and I'm able to sort through them. And it's like, the more you think about something, the more thoughts you'll have of it, the easier that process will become, and the more creative you'll be. So if you think the positive, happy thoughts, and you try to push yourself to be more mindful, your body will just have more of those thoughts. Anyways, see you tomorrow.